Okay, great. I think you all can hear me. Okay, today I'm going to have some sharing. If you all know me well, I'm in the real estate since 2013 as a real estate or property consultant full-time. And today I'm very excited to share with you all more onto the recent cooling measures that I think a lot of you have heard about this hot news about the cooling measures that just came in a few days back, last Thursday, which is on the 29th September. And the news actually came in, the government actually announced close to midnight, just like the same, like the last measure that actually announced also close to midnight. So a lot of people don't have time for action at all at that point of time. Okay, and I'll be sharing you about in simple terms about the measure and give you some case study to understand better, and does this measure actually affect you or maybe the buyers or seller or tenant or landlords. So this will be a very, very informative sharing, and do give me a thumbs up if you feel that it's interesting and it benefit you, or you have any friends or relative or family members are looking to buy or sell. Do share this video to them, because this is the most recent and is a hot topic now about the Singapore cooling measures. Yeah. About the Singapore cooling measures. Okay, great. Let me just share my screen so you're able to know the information that's announced. Just give me a minute. By the way, I'm from Singapore, just in case there's any foreigners over here. Yeah. So this is the new cooling measure that came out a few days ago by the government. Actually is only a few days back, which is 29th September, last Thursday. So today I'll be sharing more information, in a simple manner and case study, so you're able to understand what is going on and what is the cooling measure is all about, and does it actually affect you as a buyer or seller or owner. All these things are very important, because property is one of the most expensive item that we bought through our hard-earned money, right? Okay, great. And of course, there's disclaimer. All this information is based on my research, and information are gathered based on today's context and regulation. Things always change. Before you make any decision in your buying or selling, do remember to do your homework and research before you proceed. Okay, this cooling measures, what actually happened in Singapore that government actually come in to have this recent cooling measures. And one of the main objective focus for this cooling measure, which is last Thursday, is about this peak pricing of the public housing, which is the HDB. Public housing, the price is really at all-time high. And it creates a lot of concern, because the price it become very unaffordable, and because of the pent-up demand, because of the new BTO, building under constructions, HDB is being delayed for a few years, and a lot of people who actually want to settle down, they actually go into the resale market. And this is one of the reasons why the resale market demand have increased a lot, and the supply actually is getting lesser and lesser. And even you hear about news about $1 million transactions in places like Pasir Ris, even Yishun, Tampines, and even Central area, and many, many more. There's a lot of $1 million transaction that's going on, and even cash overvaluation, where people are paying a lot of cash inside, that create a lot of hype for this recent demand for HDB. That's why it drives the price out. And even I think yesterday they have just announced HDB price still continue to increase. Okay, and last year we have a double-digit growth. And okay, why the two reasons for this recent cooling measures is because they want to moderate the demand for HDB resale market, because now the price is all-time high, and also to encourage prudent borrowing. Okay, later we'll explain more, because now if you all understand, now the interest rate is very, very high. So this is one way to help people to be safeguard in their finance, in terms that interest rate is going to continue to climb. that's the reason why actually they come in to introduce these new cooling measures. Okay, this is the one that is being introduced and is effective on 30 September. And these are the things that's being sent by MMD, a government board. And of course, I'll not be going through one by one here. I make it very simple by the next few slides to share with you more in depth on exactly what the measure all about. Yeah, from at this moment, if you think that you are excited, or maybe you have friends who are keen to know more about these cooling measures, I really appreciate you can send this or tell them to join me, or send this link to them so they're able to understanding what do they should do now as a buyer or as an owner of a property of Singapore. Okay, let's zoom into the measure now. Basically, one of the new measure is moderate demand for HDB resale market. That's what I mentioned already. The reason why, because the price will be increasing and it's a peak price. And they are actually implemented things. This is called the 15 months without period. Okay, this is one of the measure. And this time the cooling measures, if I look at the whole entire cooling measure, is targeting more into the public housing, which is the HDB pricing, HDB itself. So what happened is this. There's a 15 months waiting out period. Just remember the 1 by 15s. Okay, this 15 months waiting period, if the private owner or the current or existing private owner would like to downgrade to a resale HDB, they actually have to wait for 15 months. Okay, and this measure will be temporary measure. Okay, this is what is it about? And who are affected? Okay, let's look at who are those who are being affected by this measure. Okay, as I mentioned, it's for private property owners. Okay, so even for existing or former private property owners, means that for those people who actually already sold their private, they haven't confirmed a HDB, or you actually in the midst of selling, you haven't sold your private and you haven't proceeded to buy. So whichever, you have actually have plans to go ahead to downgrade from a private to HDB resale flat, you will be affected, and you will be strongly targeted to people who are below 55 years old who want to buy a non-subsidized HDB resale flat. Of course, you also will affect people who are actually 55 who want to buy a bigger unit that's above 4-room flat. Okay, but of course, there's a group of people that's not affected, who are 55 years old and above, who actually wanted to buy a HDB subsidized flat, downgrade from a private, but they only can buy a 4-room or smaller size. Yeah, and these are the groups of people. Actually, this number of groups, you can imagine, below 55 is a very big pool of people who are being affected by this entire measure. And let me just share further. And this is effective on 30 September. Okay, unless you have submit all the documents before that. If not, you are actually affected by this measure. And last time, the measure is that if you actually have a private property, you got to dispose your private property within 6 months of completion of the HDB resale flat. Okay. And I look at it, it's also actually affected by some, en bloc that is going on in Singapore. And after en bloc, they need to file a resale HDB. So now what will happen next is that because they need to have a waiting time, they got to find a place to stay. So they will be like renting a house, or some people may be stopping, maybe pause their plans, or instead of like going to buy a HDB resale flat to downgrade, they may change their plan in the sense of buying a smaller or more affordable private property to go in to buy. Or they maybe, if they really want to proceed on their plan to sell their private to buy their HDB, because of the waiting time, they maybe need to definitely to find a place to stay by renting, or find a place to stay definitely. So what's the possible impact? Actually, there's a few possibility that's going on. And of course, just now I already shared some points. And one thing for sure, because it affects very big groups of people that is below 55 years old, that's a very big group of them, it definitely affects the demand for the HDB resale market. And it really helps to reduce the demand or cause the supply. To be honest, now in HDB resale flat, the supply is very limited. And even recently, just share a sidetrack a little bit. Recently, I just helped my client to sell away their HDB 5-room flat in Hougang. Within 1 day physical viewing, we already have a few offers and we close on the spot. Even buying itself, we actually have, I was told by the seller agent that there's numbers of groups came in to view. So the demand is very, very strong now. It's really fast, very, very fast. So because of this new measure, it really helped to cool down the HDB resale market. And not only that, private property downgrader means what? People who may be staying in landed property as well, or they may be staying in private property, which is, I mean, can worth millions of dollars. So all these pools of people are, I can say that they have quite a decent sum of money, so they can afford to pay more in terms of buying a resale HDB. So they tend to give more what? Cash over valuation, or even a higher price of purchasing a resale property. That's why you see there's many of the $1 million HDB transaction going on in Singapore, right? Yeah, so it will definitely affect now because of these new measures that came in. It will definitely affect in certain extent in terms of cash over valuation, because that the group of people now, they can't proceed now unless you already complete all their submission and all this. Then they will need to think about other alternative. Okay, and definitely the $1 million transaction will be reduced because of these new measures. Yeah, and of course, because of this situation, just now I mentioned that there's a criteria. Remember, above 55, they only can buy 4-room and below in terms of size. Means that the demand for 4-room flat may increase, definitely. I look at it. And of course, rental market will be even better, because those people who already sold their house, they're halfway through now, they really have nowhere to stay. They have no choice but to rent somewhere. So the rental demand will increase, and some people, because of this measure, they may stop proceed on their plans. That's why the private property supply may drop because of that. They may stay put, or maybe they want to wait and see to see how it goes. So these are some of the possible impact that may happen for this new measure that's going to happen very, very soon, which is really effective actually. So this is what I analyzed about the impact for the market itself. Okay, great. I hope that you have benefited a lot about this measure, able to have clear understanding, and hope it will be very interesting to know more. Okay, the second thing that I'd like to share is the second new cooling measure that's going on. And this cooling measure is to encourage prudent borrowing. Just now I mentioned to you why we need to be careful on our borrowing, because the Fed may increasing the interest rate to beat inflation. And because of that, 3-month SIBOR, 3-month SORA, the interest rate be increasing higher and higher. So government need to come in to actually ensure that in case the interest rate going to increase further, which is we anticipate it will increase further, the people who expend the money to take the loan were still able to pay their loan. Maybe it will manage their finance well. That's why the new measure came in this picture. Okay, this measure is talking about the loan to value. Okay, last time when you buy a HDB resale flat, your loan is maximum up to 80%. Sorry, it's not 85%. Now it's lowered to 80%. Okay. So the remaining 20% will be cash of CPF. Okay, because of that, you may need to actually pay more cash or come up with more CPF to cover the difference. Of course, this also will affect those people who actually want to buy a HDB using HDB loan. Okay, when does this effective is on the after or on 30 September, it will effective almost immediately, basically, this measure. Okay, let's have a closer look at this interesting case study. I think it will be good to have a more understanding that how does it impact the buyers if they actually compare to the last time and now. Okay, last time the loan is up to 85%. Okay, and this is the new maximum loan is up to 80%. So imagine, let's say you want to buy a 500K HDB resale property. Last time you can loan about 425K. This is based on a 25 years tenure. Okay, but now you only can loan 400,000. So there's a difference by 25K in terms of changes in loan amount. Means what? Means your purchase price have dropped. Okay, means last time you can buy maybe a bigger unit, or you can spend more. Because of this measure, you take lesser loan, your purchase price also will be lesser. And furthermore, as I mentioned, you need your cash and your CPF top up will be additional 5%, because of the difference of 85 to 80 is 5%, and you got to top up 5%, which come up to 25,000. Of course, the repayment wise, there's also a difference. Last time you can actually installment is about 2,000, now it's about 1,900. So it's about $100 difference based on this case study. Okay. So what's the possible impact here? Okay. I look at it for this particular measure. If you actually look at it, because it's talking about the loan, and it will actually it doesn't actually impact the first timer for this particular area, because first timer, if you understand, people who buy HDB first timer, they entitle a lot of, grant from government, subsidies and grant. So that's why it will not impact the first timer. Is all focusing is more into the second people who actually want to downgrade, or they want to go into the market. They are not a first timer, maybe they are a second timer or third timer onwards, will be affected by this entire measure. Okay, so that's why now, because of this new measure, the buyer have to adjust the expectation in terms of purchase price, because of the loan they taken will be lower and the purchase price will be lesser. So they got to readjust the expectation on the size or the price of the house. Okay, next, let's go into the new measure 3. Okay, this is the next measure that coming in is to, same thing. This is the same objective that government actually want to encourage prudent borrowing. Okay, how it goes is that there's two parts of it. Okay, one of the part is that we are talking about the medium-term interest rate floor. Okay, this particular medium-term interest rate floor is being used last time before the cooling measure. Banks or private financial institution like banks, they actually based on 3.5% to actually come up with the loan amount. But now, because of the new measures, it have increased by 0.5%. Instead of 3.5, it will become 4%. Means that it become more prudent, and means that loan will be lesser, the installment will be higher. And also because of that, not only residential, it also affect the non-residential, such as industrial and commercial. Last time used to be based on 4.5, and now they will be based on 5% to actually calculate the loan. Okay, this is a case study. I think it will be easier to understand. Look at the case study. Okay, based on this case study, actually it shows that let's say you have actually have an gross income of 16,000, and you can take a 25 years loan tenure. Okay, and such a situation itself, last time they are based on 3.5%, you actually can loan 1.75 million. But because of the new measure, we want to be more prudent, just in case, interest rate increase, you're still able to manage your funds. So now your loan amount have dropped, and you can only loan 1.667 million instead. So the difference is about 90,000. Okay, this will impact on your purchase price as well. It means that last time you used to able to have a higher purchase price because higher loan. Now, because the loan is lesser, means your purchase price will also be lesser. Okay. This is the second part. The second part is, just now I mentioned that part is for financial institution. private financial institution. Now we are talking about HDB loan itself. HDB also actually, loan itself, they actually also come up with the interest rate floor of 3% to compute. So this is how it works. For example, this case itself, let's say you want to buy a 800,000 property, HDB, for example. Okay, so now now this is the existing and this is the new one. Okay, last time it will be this amount in terms of installment, 3,085. Now the installment that you got to pay per month based on 3% is 3,035. Actually, it's a very slight difference by about $50. So this is a minor impact that's happening on the HDB loan. If you are actually taking a HDB loan, this will be one of the impact that's happened to you. Okay, so these two, the part 1 and part 2 in the measure itself is affect people who want to take HDB loan or you want to take a private financial institution loan like banks. And when will it happen? Of course, for bank loan, it applies to loans for purchase of properties where the option to purchase or sales and purchase agreement is granted on or after 30 September. And for HDB loan, you apply to a fresh application from or on 30 September. So I can say it's immediate because they announced on the 29th. So immediate effect you will start for this new measure. So what's the possible impact for this new measure? Just now, if you hear me, there's a slight increase of the installment. And of course, buyer have a lower amount of maximum loan, then result in lower maximum purchase price. Okay. And one thing that's remained is that HDB, they mentioned that the HDB interest rates will still remain as 2.6 till 2022, means end of this year. As this moment, interest rate still remain as the same at this moment for the HDB loan. Correct. So these are the 3 measures that came in a few days back, and I hope that after listening to this explanation, hope that it's easy for you to absorb and digest, and also to maybe take some action if you have any question, you're not sure how it goes, whether is it a good time to buy, it's time to sell, whether is it. Maybe I can share a little bit deeper itself. My personal opinion, because of these new measures, I can see that in summary, let me summarize about all this measure, the impact. I think it's very important. I look at it, this measure compared to the last measure in December, that time the measure actually is focusing on more for the private sector, private condo, private properties. But this measure, I can say that they are actually helping the first timer a lot, because they are actually stopping downgrader from private property to purchase a HDB subsidized, unsubsidized flats immediately. So it shows that they want to decrease the demand of the HDB resale market. Okay, so when they reduce the demand, means that less people come and buy, means that the seller now will become more, how to say, maybe at this point of time, they may want to ask for a high price. Because of this new measure, they may readjust their expectation. So it's a very good time for buyers who actually want to look for a HDB resale flat now. I think this is a very, very good opportunity, because if you read the news and you catch me for quite some time, you can see that HDB market be increasing for very, very long since last year, and now it's been increasing. And now I think it's a very good opportunity for people who actually can come in to source for their house to stay, or wherever you want to settle down in HDB resale market. I think now is a very good opportunity for buyers market, okay, for the HDB itself. So seller, I think those seller who initially have high expectation, they may really need to change. If not, I think the buyers now may not be able to have a lot of cash to actually pay a very high COV. And furthermore, I look at it for the private sector itself, because of these new measures, some of the group of private owners may stop proceeding their plan. Okay, maybe they choose to stay put, number one. If they're going to stay put, number one means what? Means the supply of the private property may drop. Okay, I look at it, and because the supply drop, and it may affect the price of the private property pricing. So I look at it in a short-term effect. I think the private property prices may increase, okay, because supply is dropped. And of course, when they actually decided to proceed, or those people already sold their private property, they really need to have a place to stay, they will rent. Means what? Means the rental market will increase further. Where you know that Singapore now, the rental market is really very hot now. Now, because of this new measure, it will further increase the rental rate in Singapore. So for people who actually renting a house now, if you really can afford to actually buy a house now, I mean like HDB, for example, I really strongly encourage you to relook to buy a resale HDB, because I encounter PR a few days, actually yesterday, last night, actually, I was being contacted by two SPR, my referrer. They actually told me that they want to plan to buy a resale HDB. I think it's a good time because they've been renting, and now the renting market is getting higher and higher. Imagine the price that you pay for the house, a 4-room flat, is like it may be, I mean, it may be cheaper, you know, if you actually take a loan and buy the house. The installment could be even more affordable if you actually do a calculation, sit down and do a calculation. Because I know that now HDB market, the rental is really can come out to $3,000 over for a 4-room flat. Yeah, this is how crazy it goes. Okay, and of course, since the supply is lower, let's say in such a situation, that's possible that, of course, there's other alternative. I know some of the private owners, instead of stay put or proceed to actually rent a place, some of them, maybe they will choose to sell their bigger house because maybe they're retiring. Maybe, for example, maybe they stay in a 4-bedroom. Maybe they may, instead of buying a HDB resale, they may want to downsize a smaller private HDB. I mean, sorry, private, smaller private property condo, for example. Instead, like maybe they from a 3-bedroom, they maybe want to buy a 2-bedroom instead, rather than going into a resale HDB market. If this sort of things happen, means that the smaller units may in higher demand. I think maybe 2-bed, 3-bed should be a higher demand. Maybe a 2-beds, depends. For retirees, I think around 2-beds will be a higher demand if they choose to take this path of selling the bigger units to a smaller unit itself. Yeah, so there's a few possible opportunities over here. Okay. And besides that, let me see anything else. Yeah, this is my personal opinions based on the current market and based on the current measures. This will be the few things that may happen, and we can see over the time. So let's take a look. And no obligation. If you need more assistance and you want to know more about how can you go about taking the opportunity to, because of these new measures, to give me a call on this number and email. And these are some of the places I get my sources from the newsletter, from the news channel, News Asia, MND website, and Straits Time. You can actually refer all this as well. Okay, always remember, always believe in begin with an end in mind. Stephen Covey. Whenever what you do in your planning, remember, you need to ask yourself, what do you want to achieve end of the day? Then you will go into it. Don't, not because people want to buy, people sell, you follow. So you need to have your own objective, target, the reason why you want to actually buy or sell, and what do you want to achieve end of it is very, very important. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I hope that today's sharing is very meaningful. Give me a thumbs up if you feel that it's really interesting, and really share with your friends. And I think I also will upload this in my YouTube channel. And thank you very much. Have a good dinner later. Bye.